Everyone online talks about six figures, seven figures, passive income, get-rich shortcuts. But for most people, the most important number is much smaller. The first $20,000 you keep. Not 200K, not a million, 20. Because that first 20K doesn't just change your bank balance, it changes your brain. It changes how you see risk, opportunity, and your entire life. In the beginning, money feels like sand slipping through your fingers. Your income comes in, rent and bills fly out, and you're left wondering how other people ever save more than a few hundred. Every setback is a disaster. One bad month erases three good ones. You tell yourself you'll do better next year, but next year looks a lot like last year, just with nicer ads following you around the internet. The first 20K feels impossible because you're trying to build a wall one grain of sand at a time. And no one explained that your real enemy isn't lattes or takeout. It's never having enough of a base for compounding and stability to actually matter. $20,000 is not some magical number. It's roughly a few months of core expenses for many middle-class individuals or couples. Enough that if something goes wrong, your life doesn't immediately catch fire. It's big enough to handle most oh no moments, a broken car, a sudden move, a small medical bill, without debt, panic, or blowing up your entire plan. It's the moment your money stops being a constant emergency and becomes something you can work with. At Crash Cycle Financial, 20K is treated as a checkpoint. The line between "I'm always one bad month away from disaster" and "I have enough runway to think clearly." It's not financial freedom, but it is the foundation you need to ever get there. Big investment accounts and high incomes do help your finances, but research shows something counterintuitive. Just having a small emergency buffer can improve your financial well-being more than any fancy portfolio. One Vanguard study found that people with at least $2,000 in emergency savings scored about 21% higher on financial well-being than people with no buffer at all. Not 200,000, 2,000. Roughly the cost of a mid-range laptop or a short vacation. That little safety net is often enough to pull your brain out of constant panic. But the effect doesn't stop there. When you stack that first 2K, then build it up to roughly 3 to 6 months of core expenses, for many people, somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000, your sense of security jumps again. You're no longer one broken car, one medical bill, or one layoff away from catastrophe. You've bought yourself time. Time to think, time to choose, time to say no. At that point, 20K isn't just cash. It's the moment your emergency fund is big enough that your brain can finally stop obsessing over how do I survive and start asking, how do I build? It's the psychological bridge between protecting yourself from life's punches and finally having the mental space to design your next money moves on purpose. Up to 20K, it feels like you're fighting for every dollar. After 20K, something subtle but powerful kicks in. Scale. The rules of compounding haven't changed, the numbers have. Let's say you're saving and investing $1,000 a month at an average return of about 8% a year. Getting from zero to your first $20,000 takes around 19 months of consistent discipline. That's a year and a half of saying no, cutting back, staying focused even when it feels like nothing is happening. But here's the fun part. Once you've hit that first 20K, you don't need another 19 months to reach 40K, because now that first 20K is working with you. At the same contribution and the same risk level, the second 20K might only take about 17 months. You didn't become a different person. You didn't magically earn more willpower. You just have more soldiers on the field fighting on your side. And as the numbers grow, the time between milestones keeps shrinking. By the time your investments reach around 400,000, earning another 20,000 can take just a few months of normal market returns, even if you never increase your monthly contribution. The graph doesn't climb in a straight line. It curves upward, steeper and steeper, because your past effort is finally compounding on itself. This is why the first 20K feels painfully slow, and everything after that feels strangely faster. It's not some secret hedge fund strategy, it's just scale. A 10% return on $2,000 is $200. Nice, but easy to ignore. A 10% return on $20,000 is $2,000. Same percentage, same market, but now the gain is big enough that you actually feel it. To get $20,000 into your account, you don't just move numbers around. You have to become a different person. You have to track where your money actually goes, not in your head, but on paper or in an app. You have to look your impulses in the eye and say, "Not today," to a lot of little temptations. You have to repeat boring, responsible choices for months or even years in a row. That process quietly forges discipline. You learn to pause before you buy. You teach your brain that wanting something and needing to own it right now are not the same thing. Psychologists call this delayed gratification, and it shows up again and again as one of the strongest predictors of long-term financial success. The real achievement at 20K isn't just the money in the account, it's the identity you built getting there. You've proven to yourself that you can control your money instead of letting it control you. You've shown that you can stick to a plan even when it's not exciting, even when everything around you is pushing you to upgrade. And once you've done that, the small stuff finally shrinks to its real size. The $4 coffee, the occasional takeout, the little treats, they stop feeling like enemies. Because now you're clear on your priorities. You know your saving and investing are happening on schedule, so you don't have to obsess over every tiny purchase. At 20K, you're no longer the person who hopes to do better one day. You're the person who already proved they can build wealth on purpose. When money is tight and your situation is fragile, your mind is forced to obsess over tiny expenses, the coffee, the cereal, the gas. Every small swipe feels dangerous because one careless week can push you over the edge. But once you've built a solid base, for example, a 20K cushion and consistent saving habits, you start to see those small items for what they really are. Maybe a few hundred or a couple $1,000s a year. They're not what will decide whether you reach financial freedom or not. You should still spend consciously, but you no longer need to burn all your mental energy policing every single coffee. What truly bends the curve of your financial life are the big levers: where you live and how much housing costs you, what you drive and the fixed cost of transportation, how much you consistently save and invest every month, what investing strategy you choose, its risk level, time horizon, and fees. These decisions can easily create a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades, while coffee habits barely move the needle. And that is one of the best gifts of having a foundation like 20K. It frees up mental bandwidth. You shift out of permanent micro-saving mode and into designing your financial life on purpose. Spending, saving, and investing on purpose, because you can finally see the long-term consequences of each path you take. Somewhere along the path to 20K, you notice another change. You stop avoiding your banking app. You check it without a spike of anxiety. You feel a quiet pride every time you pay for something in cash instead of in panic. You start to think in terms of, "What's my net worth?" instead of, "How do I survive this month?" Money goes from being a constant threat to a tool you know how to use. Once people finally hit that 20K mark, a very dangerous thought often shows up. I deserve a reward. And suddenly, the reward is a brand new car, an over-the-top vacation, or locking themselves into a house that stretches every dollar to its limit. In one move, the entire safety net that took years to build gets cashed out for lifestyle upgrades that start depreciating the moment they appear. But 20K is not a trophy. It is foundation. It is the floor that keeps your life from collapsing and the seed that can grow into real wealth if you let compounding do its quiet work over 5, 10, 20 years. Treating that foundation as a bonus to blow is like ripping up the concrete under your own house because you wanted nicer curtains. The whole point of reaching 20K is to keep it and build on top of it, not to finally set it on fire. Think about the new car example.
Many new vehicles lose around 10 to 20% of their value in the first year alone, with a big chunk of that happening as soon as you drive off the lot. On a 40K car, that can mean thousands of dollars evaporating almost instantly, value you'll never see again. Now compare that to leaving 20K invested for the long term. Given enough years of compounding, that same 20K can potentially double, then double again, turning into a six-figure base for your future self. The celebration purchase doesn't just cost you money today. Its opportunity cost is the entire stream of growth you just killed. The message after 20K is simple. Yes, celebrate the discipline that got you here, but do it in ways that don't blow up the foundation. Keep the 20K as your non-negotiable floor, the line you do not cross. Let it be the quiet, boring seed that compounds in the background while you